And go.
Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Barsha Bhujel and I have Suhas Subramanyam here who's running for Virginia House of Delegates. His election's November 5th. I'm with INNJA Networking today and I've Gunraj Lital on the camera. INNJA's main goal is to connect, educate, and inspire people, and in order to educate you today we'll be bringing Suhas in to talk a little bit about the election, and let's hear what he has to say about the election that's happening on November 5th. Hi Suhas, welcome to INNJA.
Thank you for having me, and thank you to INNJA for all the great work it does all over the world. It's a very honored to be here and to be talking to you today.
So Suhas is a local Virginia resident. He lives in Loudoun County. He's a small business owner and an attorney. He's also worked in White House as an advisor to President Obama. And you're also a part-time volunteer for the Loudoun County EMT. What is that like?
Sure, yeah, I'm a volunteer firefighter EMT in Ashburn, and so once or twice a week I'll go to the firehouse, and from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. I'll sleep there overnight, and any calls in the community where someone's having a health crisis or there's a fire, I'll go there with my crew and I'll try to address it and fix it.
So you're very involved in your community.
Yeah.
What other things do you do for the community besides volunteering?
I'm part of the Rotary Club as well, and so I guess that's another form of volunteering. I have also been committed to getting good people elected over the years and been an activist for the environment, for healthcare. I'm on the Loudoun Health Council, for instance. I used to be the chair there. We're trying to make sure that people have access to affordable healthcare and know what resources exist if they have any healthcare needs in the county.
So you're running for Virginia House of Delegates. What's that? What is that position, and what are some of your goals that you're trying to achieve?
Yeah. Just like the U.S. Congress, the state of Virginia has its own Congress, but people sometimes forget about the state politics and the state legislature, but it's incredibly important because it affects our everyday life: traffic, schools, safety, healthcare. A lot of the issues that we face every day from a day-to-day basis, all of those are decisions made by the state officials. And so when people think about, for instance, what kinds of, how do we make healthcare more affordable? People know about the conversation happening at the congressional level, but states can actually step in and have their own healthcare programs. Virginia, for instance, just expanded Medicaid, so a lot of people who couldn't afford healthcare are now are able to get healthcare as a result. So state policymakers are incredibly important, and that's why it's so important that people be aware, be involved at the state level, not just the presidential or congressional level.
So you talked about education and healthcare and all that. Can you talk a little bit about what changes in that particular sector and what inspired you to come up with the policy changes?
Sure, absolutely. I would say, taking a step back before any of the issues specifically, it's incredibly important that people trust their government and they feel like the people who are elected are representing their values and representing them. Right now, we don't exactly have that. I worked in the Obama White House as a technology advisor, and I worked on Capitol Hill. And one of the things I saw was the influence of big corporations and big money in our politics is very widespread, and then the legislators draw their own districts every 10 years too. So next year in Virginia, we're about to draw the districts again. I want to be in a position where I can say, okay, we want a nonpartisan, an objective process of drawing the districts that's best for the people, and that's not what's best for the elected officials. That way, people can choose their legislators, and legislators don't choose their people, the other way around. So before we do any of that, before we do traffic, schools, and education, I want to make sure people and the system in general is trustworthy. And then once we go there, schools here are good in Northern Virginia, but a lot of times they don't get fully funded, and so a lot of the kids, parents either have to subsidize activities that should be paid for by the state, or a lot of times, there's safety issues in the schools, and so these are things that we can address at the state level, but haven't been addressed for ideological or political reasons. And then traffic is another thing that I think a lot of my constituents have talked about. People spend a lot of time commuting to work, and it's taking time away from their families. And so, if we can get infrastructure money to widen roads, to build out a more smarter and affordable grid for everyone, I think that's going to help a lot. And so those are some of my priorities. Healthcare, it's as a volunteer EMT firefighter, it's really it's really painful to see some of the people that I meet who don't want to even go to the hospital despite being in pain because it's too expensive to go to the hospital. They'd rather be in pain than pay that hospital bill. And that's right here in Northern Virginia. And so these are incredibly important issues, and we can address them all, and voting is an incredibly powerful way of doing that.
So a lot of people, again, in Northern Virginia, maybe people are rather a little bit more aware, but there are other people out here that don't even know elections happening November 5th. How can they register to vote, or where do they know where to vote? Or
Yeah. There's a lot of great resources out there. Vote.org, for instance, is one resource where you can go and you can register to vote or find out all the details. Registering to vote is not as hard as it seems. All you have to do is just go online, get an application, and then send it back, and within a week you'll be registered. And the deadline to register to vote is September 20th, so it's coming up in a couple of weeks. So people should definitely make sure that they get registered for this election. It's going to be important. And then that's also when early voting starts. And so people, if Tuesdays are a bad day for you, that's what November 5th is, a Tuesday, you can actually vote in advance at a local area. There's all that information's online. For instance, if you live in the South Riding area, you can vote at the Dulles South Recreation Center, which you probably go to all the time anyway. So voting has become easier and easier over the years, and it shouldn't be seen as something that's difficult to do or out of touch for certain people.
So you do a lot of community outreach. Again, you're very involved with the community. You volunteer a lot with different organizations, and you've been doing a lot of outreach. How is that? How are you reaching out to your constituents, and how are you reaching out to people in the area currently?
Yeah, I do it in two ways. One, we have a great message for my campaign, which is, we want to address the things that people care about most, like traffic, schools, education, safety, and then we want to make sure people trust their government. And people have really responded positively to that message in ways I never even thought was possible. And so we feel very encouraged that the community has a positive response. Now we feel like our job is not to persuade people to vote for us, but to actually get people to vote. That's really our number one issue. If everyone in the area votes and everyone in Virginia votes, we will win, and we will win in big numbers. And that's so I'm convinced of that. It's just getting people to vote, I think, will be our priority, because that way their voice is heard, and I think it'll end up with a positive outcome for us.
So you go and knock on every door that you possibly can yourself.
I've knocked on 12,000 doors so far.
That's a big number. So you've been reaching out to people through that. What are some of the concerns or some of the questions that people in your district have raised that you'd like to address besides your key campaign messages that you have?
Yeah, I think a couple things. One, the things that I talked about, like traffic, schools, safety in the community. I always thought that maybe I'm just the only one who cares about those things, but it's actually really heartening to go out and meet people who they live in my community and they feel the same way. They feel like I've never seen such uniformity in how people feel. And, we're all neighbors. We're all going through the same experience, and so they care about the same issues: traffic, schools, education, healthcare. And then there's a lot of really amazing diversity in Northern Virginia, especially. The Nepalese community is very well represented. The Indian American community. I'm Indian American. My family came here in 1978. It was the beginning of a growth of the South Asian population in Northern Virginia, and it's exploded, and it's amazing to see, and I'm very proud to be South Asian. And so being able to go to the events, go to the homes of those communities, and really be able to connect with them has been very important to me, and get them civically engaged too. So that's going to be that's been a very important part of our campaign, is making sure that communities of color, diverse communities, are well represented. We've never had a South Asian elected in the history of Virginia. I would be the first, and I think people understand that, and they're very encouraged by the results so far of our campaign.
So if you were to win this election, you're going to be the youngest member to work in Virginia House of Delegates.
Yes.
What is that like?
Yeah, I feel like the ideas that we currently have, there are not enough young people serving. Young people bring a different perspective. It's not necessarily better or worse, it's just different, right? And so it's important that we have those voices in the General Assembly too. The things that I would bring that would probably be different. I'm a little bit more tech savvy perhaps as a technology advisor to President Obama, and so I think when I see the technology that the government uses sometimes, I think we can do a little bit better, and I've got the network to be able to bring private sector talent to solve that problem. Other things that I think, I think when you look at a problem, having a diverse background and diversity of experiences, if you have multiple people from different backgrounds attacking that problem, you'll get lots of different ideas, a lot of good ideas you wouldn't have gotten otherwise if just one type of person was addressing that.
So oftentimes in South Asian communities, politics isn't everyone's cup of tea, or not a lot of young people of our generation are involved in politics. What inspired you to go out there and run for office and go out and canvass to get your voice heard? What's your inspiration behind this?
Yeah. So one of the things that I've seen, I've been invited a lot to talk to young Asian American communities or like high school students, and I tell them all the same thing. I start by saying, please raise your hand and tell me or write down something that you want to happen in the world, some sort of change or something that you want in the world. And so people will say, well, I want world peace, or, well, I'd like to have more recess, or, you get a diversity of answers. But I always tell them, great, I can tell you the way to do that. But it starts by getting your parents to vote or voting yourself or getting active into politics and policy. I used to be someone who thought that politics was a nasty thing that you don't want to get involved in. But what I found that it is the solution to a lot of problems. Voting, getting civically engaged, making your voice heard, this is the solution to a lot of really important problems. And so my job, I think, as someone who would potentially be a legislator, is to connect the solutions and the things that would make your daily life better with the getting out and voting and the political side of things, so that people see the connection and will realize, well, if I come out and vote, my healthcare costs are going to go down, my traffic is going to be as bad, the schools are going to be better. I want to make that connection for people.
Okay. So again, to everyone watching out there, if you like what Suhas is saying, please register to vote. Election day is November 5th, and voting for early deadline is September 20th. And you can go to vote.org to register to vote. So, Suhas, you've got some great policies, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
The election coming up, do you have any messages to everyone watching out there, to the Nepali community? And you've been very involved with it. You went to the Sapta. We got to see pictures of you while you were there. What was that like?
I'm a lifetime member of the Future Nepalese Community Center in Loudoun, Fairfax, and Nepal is a very special place to me. I was able to go when I was in graduate school for a while and spend time in Pokhara and Lumbini and Kathmandu, and it's an amazing place with amazing people. I'm so happy that there's a Nepalese community here. I can go to Nepalese food anytime I want, but I think it's just make sure that you understand how important it is to get involved and how your voice really does matter. People don't realize how powerful it is to come out and vote. Tell your friends about voting and really get your kids involved too. So thank you so much for the contributions of the Nepalese community to Virginia and to the United States. And I think working together, we can make a huge difference in the community.
Thank you so much, Suhas, and thank you so much, everyone. Again, please don't forget to register to vote. Elections November 5th. Vote.org is where you can register to vote and find out your local electives. Thank you.
Thank you so much.